A very good evening. Many thanks for staying with us here on TV47 News Tonight. These are some of the stories making headlines. Ahead on TV47 tonight, Waiguru's homes office raided. EACC detectives ransacked the homes and office of Kirinyaga Governor Mumbi Waiguru of an alleged 23 million shillings travel allowances. The detectives pounced on Waiguru nearly a month after Waiguru survived an impeachment. The travel impress were part of the charges the MCAs had quoted in the impeachment motion. Also tonight, doctors' strike starts tonight. The health sector is set to be dealt a major blow at midnight tonight when the doctors' strike is set to begin. The health foot soldiers against the deadly virus are protesting against poor working conditions, delayed COVID-19 allowances, among other grievances. Plus, COVID-19 delayed results. The Council of Governors has raised a red flag over delayed COVID-19 test results. The governors decry that delayed results are hampering the war against the spread of the virus. The Ministry of Health attributes the anomaly to batching protocols. And back to school dilemma. Schools may reopen soon, or will they? WHO and UNICEF advise African governments to consider reopening schools to safeguard children from the ills they are exposed to while at home. The reopening must conform to strict adherence to health protocols nonetheless. A very warm welcome on TV47 News Tonight. My name is Mombichege, sitting in for Abubakar Abdullahi, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Anne Wairimo. Now, the 12-member Senate Select Committee has received proposals raised by senators in its second day of sittings. The committee, led by Senators Moses Wetangula, says there is a white smoke ahead of its retreat over the weekend, as Elizabeth Mutuku now reports.
The 12-member committee says there is a white smoke on its second day of its sitting. The committee on Thursday met senators with various proposals to revenue sharing formula as pressure continues on mediation team to craft a win-win formula. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka calling on the team to strike a balance on its resolution.
Right now, everybody in this country is talk about division of revenue sharing formula. Professor Munavu was there. And that commission of revenue allocation did well. The whole thing is about the reality of devolution.
The committee was formed after House failed to agree for the 9th time on revenue formula. Senators expressing confidence.
The issue of revenue sharing will continue this one. They are already doing a good job that I can report. We hope that they will come up with a position, a mediated version that is acceptable to all of us.
This comes even as governors continue to decry of delay in disbursement of funds to the counties over the delay in the revenue sharing formula.
Our take as governors is that the money that is being put for devolution is not the actual money we are supposed to be receiving, and that's why we're having all these problems.
The committee has expressed confidence of presenting a report in the House next week. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Nairobi.
Now, the World Health Organization and UNICEF have urged African countries to consider safe reopening of schools after emergency of risk and harm to children. The World Health Organization has, however, recommended a range of precautionary measures to be implemented before and after resuming learning activities. Eli Logova with the details.
The unprecedented and prolonged closure of schools aimed at keeping students safe from COVID-19 are proving harmful to students in other ways. This is according to WHO and UNICEF, that are now urging African governments to promote safe resumption of learning activities while taking measures to limit the spread of coronavirus. Among the guidelines recommended by WHO and UNICEF include cancelling school events that create crowding, spacing desks when possible, providing hand-washing facilities, wearing of masks, ensuring sick students and teachers stay at home, and discouraging unnecessary touching. World Health Organization and UNICEF have further indicated negative impact of disruption of learning activities that include, among others, poor nutrition, stress, increased exposure to violence and exploitation, childhood pregnancies, and challenges in mental development of children. A World Health Organization study of 39 countries in sub-Saharan Africa indicated schools in only 6 countries are fully open, schools in 14 countries are closed and partially open in 19 others. Around a dozen of countries are planning to reopen schools in September, while others are considering reopening in January 2021. Eli Logova, TV47.
Now, Nairobi doctors are set to down their tools as of midnight tonight after failed negotiations between KMPDU and the government in what they term as failure by the government to cater for their welfare as frontline workers in battling the COVID-19 pandemic was still. Now, the Joint Medical Union Society has also issued a 21-day strike notice over similar grievances. The total number of health workers who have contracted COVID-19 in the country now stands at 850, with a total of 16 fatalities. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
A dire crisis is looming in the health sector as health workers across the country threaten to down their tools over poor state of affairs in the health sector amid a killer pandemic. In Nairobi County, doctors are set to begin their strike officially at midnight tonight. This is after talks between the Kenya Medical Practitioners Union and the government failed to bear any fruits. This evening, KMPDU Secretary General for Nairobi, Dr. Thuranira Kauguria, took to Twitter to announce the commencement of the strike. In a tweet, Thuranira said, and I quote, "Talks collapse, strike begins tonight," end of quote. And more disaster is looming in the health docket. The Joint Medical Society on Thursday issued a 21-day strike notice over poor working conditions amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Within the next 21 days, ending the midnight of 9th September 2020, all the aggrieved healthcare workers shall go ahead on strike without further notice beginning on the morning of 10th September 2020.
And despite many people viewing the health workers' move as rather insensitive at a time when the country is on its knees battling a major health crisis, the Healthcare Workers Union say their decision is as a result of their employers' constant neglect and failure to address their grievances.
Serikali ilipe wahudumu wa afya. Hivi leo tunasikitika kwamba kaunti kadha Kenya hii hazijalipa nini wahudumu wa afya. Kaunti moja ikiwa kama Vihiga ambaye haijalipa wahudumu wa afya zaidi ya miezi 10. Tukasema hatutaki ajira ya kandarasi ambayo bado hii haijabadilishwa. Tukasema tunahitaji bima kwa wahudumu wa afya, bado hajapewa hizo vitu. Tukasema tunahitaji kupandishwa ngazi kwa wahudumu wa afya ama promotion kwenye kizungu, bado hayo maneno hayajazingatiwa.
A total of 850 health workers have already contracted COVID-19, with 16 others succumbing to the virus. This is as the number of COVID-19 cases in the country rises to 31,441 cases after 426 people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours.
257 patients that have recovered from the disease, with 195 from the home-based care program, whereas 62 have been discharged from various hospitals. And therefore, our total number of recoveries stands at 17,869. And we continue to thank all the frontline healthcare workers for the good job that they're doing. On a sad note, today we've lost 10 patients to the disease, bringing our fatality to 516.
Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Thank you for that report, Zainab. Now, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru has refuted claims that she and other county officials were irregularly paid travel allowances amounting to 23 million shillings for non-existent trips. Now, this comes hours after EACC detectives stormed Waiguru's residences and office in Nairobi and Kirinyaga in a bid to find evidence that could tie Waiguru to the graft charges. David Mudhoka reports.
Barely hours after EACC detectives raided Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru's residences in Kerugoya and Nairobi respectively, as well as the county headquarters in Kutus to investigate alleged plunder of 23 million shillings, Waiguru has termed the investigations as sideshows, mere politicking and image shaming. Waiguru and two other county officials, among them the county's Chief of Staff Sela Bogonko and Finance Officer Patrick Ndathi, are facing accusations of having received a lump sum amount of 23 million shillings as travel allowances for trips that never took place. Thursday at the crack of dawn, EACC detectives stormed into Waiguru's Kerugoya home and later the county headquarters in Kutus following the issuance of a search warrant by the Chief Magistrate's Court in Nyeri. According to a statement from the EACC, officers from the commission had been granted access to several offices and residences in a bid to unearth information useful in their investigations. Their next and final stop will be 130 kilometers away at Waiguru's Kitisuru home in Nairobi. After what seemed like a covert affair, the detectives emerged 3 hours later and left without issuing any update whatsoever regarding their search. But Waiguru has rubbished the investigations through a press release seen by newsrooms. The embattled governor holds that her administration has nothing to hide, having already submitted documents evidencing trips that took place and refunds in instances where no travel took place. She has further poked holes at reports indicating that the alleged plundered money is 23 million shillings, arguing that Kirinyaga MCS had accused her of mismanaging 10 million shillings over the same claims when she was facing impeachment a month ago. Investigations into the alleged plunder of up to 23 million shillings by Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru and other county officials have literally been held behind closed gates here at her Nairobi residence. This comes weeks after Waiguru, who is clearly not out of the woods yet, survived an impeachment scare at the Senate. David Mudhoka, TV47 at Kitusuru, Nairobi.
The Council of Governors is accusing the Ministry of Health of a delay in releasing COVID-19 results after one of their staff's results were released a week later. Muhammad Ali reports.
The Council of Governors has raised eyebrows on the delay of COVID-19 test results after one of their staff received the result a week later. In a statement, the council said the results were received 1 week down the line as opposed to the expected 24 hours. COG asking how long it takes for the ordinary citizen to receive their results. The Ministry of Health, however, says that the delay was due to the batching of samples that does not allow one test to be carried out at a time.
Yes, there are delays when it comes to, sharing some of the COVID-19 results. These delays have been occasioned both in public and private testing facilities. There are challenges when it comes to ensuring, like we've previously said, that running a test, if I took samples from you here standing in front of us today, I may not actually be able to do a complete run because I need 94 samples to be able to do a successful run. So what this means is that every time we're doing sample collection, we have to have a very efficient and agile logistics system where we are batching samples to be able to get the requisite 94 samples to then enable the machine to do the run.
Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi said the ministry is working towards ensuring the results are given out as fast as possible.
And because of challenges in ensuring that we're doing that, there are teams working to facilitate that, to expedite that, to ensure the batching is done in a manner where in a day we are actually able to run the samples that we collect.
The Council of Governors, on the other hand, said that the delays pose a huge risk of community infections, thus calling on the Ministry of Health to speed up the testing process. Mohammed Ali, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's get to our discussion. Earlier I mentioned that medics have threatened to down their tools starting midnight over what they term failed negotiations between the health workers and the government over neglect of the frontline workers in hospitals. And to get a better understanding of why the talks have stalled or collapsed rather, with me tonight is Dennis Miskela, who's the Acting Secretary General of KMPDU. Dennis, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you for being on the show tonight. From what we understand, the strike is supposed to commence tonight as of midnight. Dennis, maybe explain to us, what are some of the reasons as to why the talks collapsed? What are the main reasons?
Yeah, so today we had we met with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services to find some of the solutions to the issues we picked up. We gave them out in the strike notice. One of the issues we talked about was the issue about medical cover. Because as we speak right now, our doctors in Nairobi County don't have medical cover. They are working, and when they fall sick, they have to pay from their pockets. We even carried with us a doctor who had tested positive for COVID, was hospitalized with their husband plus the children, and they had to pay from their pocket. So those are some of the issues that we addressed, plus other issues. And sadly, when we met with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the NMS, and we met the highest of officials, the Deputy DG, Mr. Thuku, and it was sad that during the meetings when they're telling us about the plans that they have about having meetings with the NHIF, the meetings they're planning to have with public service, and despite all those plans that they're planning to have those meetings, they put for us a caveat that all those can only be possible if Nairobi County, the former Nairobi County, which was previously employing us, which is being run by His Excellency Governor Sonko, if they are able to release the payroll, then they can sort our problem. So we were taken aback when we are still being told that our fate still lies on the hands of politicians. We are tired as healthcare workers of that. Every time politicians disagree, or every time politicians are engaging in their politics, we as healthcare workers, as doctors, we have to pay the highest price. So we were like, if you guys are going to delay solving our problems because of politics, then we'll go ahead with the strike. If you really care about your voters, if you really care about the Nairobi people, then you'll either convince Governor Sonko to release the payroll, do whatever it needs to be done to ensure that our issues are sorted. Because you can't tell us to wait for a month or 2 weeks for you to sort our problems. If a doctor they fall sick, they'll die. They're going to release the payroll. So the talks collapse purely because they are saying that everything they are promising is only contingent upon Governor Sonko releasing the payroll, which he has refused to do so in the last 2 months.
Dennis, let's talk about the health workers who've been exposed to the virus. From what we understand, around 850 health workers have been exposed to the virus. Around 16 have succumbed to the virus. So any compensation made to the families or any attempt by the government to compensate the families?
Nothing. And that's one of the issues we have been telling them, that healthcare workers, unlike everybody else, contract the virus working. Nobody leaves home saying that today I'm going to get corona. And yet we step out there knowing that we might get corona. We might die. We have had healthcare workers dying. Right now we are at 10 healthcare workers who have died. Not because of any carelessness, but because they sacrificed their lives. And we've been asking government that, can you for once just let's discuss about compensation? Not only for those who die, but even those who fall sick. Because now we know that even long after you have recovered, the effects of coronavirus in the body lasts much longer. Yeah, but government has flatly refused to discuss anything about compensation. So we were like, if you don't protect us, then let's protect ourselves. Let us stay home like everybody else is staying home. Then in case of anything, you might see how important we are. But if a government cannot see how important healthcare workers are in the middle of a pandemic, then we don't know when they'll ever know how important healthcare workers are. We are human beings. We have children, we have wives, we have parents who care about us. And when it comes to a place where we don't feel like we are cared for, we'd rather care for, protect ourselves, and stay home like everybody else is doing.
Dennis, you and other health workers have, on numerous accounts, talked about lack of PPEs. Why is it so hard to access these PPEs? What is the problem?
The problem here, and you know, we live in a country where people think that every time there's a public problem need, the solution is entrepreneurship and private business, people profiteering. Yeah? PPEs, money has been set aside. Donations have been made. What breaks our heart is that we have never seen much of that trickling. If anything, the only kind of PPE that we have really gotten to appreciate is whatever Equity Foundation, under the auspices of Peter Mwangi, the CEO for Equity, donated to us, and we are very grateful. We also Safaricom also donated some PPEs to us, and we are grateful. But we are yet to see any government serious initiative to give us. If by anything, you know, the tragedy of the whole PPE thing is that KEMSA, the agency that is put in place to distribute PPEs, instead of giving PPEs to countries for free, have been selling PPEs to countries. Countries found that very, very expensive to do. So they chose to go for cheaper business people to sell them PPEs. Sadly, with private businessmen, the quality of PPEs is not assured, and we have had issues of PPEs which are defaultive, which are defective, and that's why we are like, if the government really cared about us, they really go out of their way to ensure that we are properly protected.
Dennis, finally, we're out of time, but all your demands are equally important, all of them. But now, I know the question in everybody's mind is this the right time to strike in the middle of a pandemic?
There's never been a better time to strike. Corona has been here with us from February, March. And all this time we have been begging government. We have had endless meetings begging government, begging NMS, begging Nairobi County to solve some of these easy issues like just paying us on time, paying doctors. You can't expect me to risk my life, risk my family's life, risk my children's life for nothing. They're not paying on time. They're not paying some of my colleagues. They're not promoting us. The least of all that, even if you fall sick, they're not covering for your medical bills. You're paying for yourself. When you die, nobody pays for your compensation. So as much as we press our heart, nobody as a healthcare worker is trained to abandon a patient. We're not trained in the politics. But when you find yourself in a country where politics takes precedence, forget about Nairobi. Right now, most counties have not paid salaries simply because senators have refused to agree on the revenue allocation formula. Now is 20th salaries of July are already been paid, and you expect me as a healthcare worker to wake up every day and risk my life? Not as if my landlord will understand if I tell them that I'm a doctor, let me stay for free. No, they want me to pay the rent on time. My child, when they want to eat, they won't care whether I'm a frontliner. They want food on the table. So sometimes we can sacrifice so much, but at the end of the day, we can only work to the extent that the government facilitates us to work.
Thank you so much, Dennis Miskela, the Acting Secretary General of KMPDU, helping us to better understand why the medics have threatened to strike starting midnight tonight. Many thanks for staying with us here on TV47 News Tonight. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with much more. Welcome back. Now, Deputy President William Ruto has said Monday arrest of 3 senators was not sanctioned by the government. At the same time, he has said police officers and other public servants should not be used by politicians to settle political scores. Mwangi Maina reports.
For a second time, Deputy President William Ruto has condemned the dramatic arrest of 3 senators earlier this week. Ruto saying men in uniform should not involve themselves in political affairs. Rather, the police should focus on service delivery to all Kenyans.
They must serve professionally, in accordance with the law and the constitution, and nobody should blackmail or intimidate them to run political errands or political agendas for anybody. Politicians must learn to do their thing and run their errands and run their agendas without involving other public servants that have nothing to do with politics.
Ruto says police reforms transform the police from a force to a service, and as such, every Kenyan should enjoy services from professional and well-trained police officers whose mandate is to protect all Kenyans.
You are entitled to the services of a professional, well-trained police that is focused on protecting and serving the interest of every citizen. That is why we changed the police from a force to a service, so that it can serve the people of Kenya.
Ruto's calls were echoed by Embakasi North MP James Gakuya, who says the country is under the new constitution that grants enjoyment of different freedoms and rights for all. Gakuya saying that there is no room for intimidation.
Kenya ni Kenya mpya, na sisi tuko katika katiba mpya, na tungeomba katiba iweze kuheshimika, na watu wao wanajiita deep state. Musahau Kenya ni ya Wakenya na Kenya sio wachache, na anawaambia hawa watu wanatumika kama vibaranga ama vibaraka. Mjue tutakutana na nyinyi kwa debe na mtaenda nyumbani asubuhi. Hizi ni wananchi na tukisema tumesema.
The leader spoke at DP Ruto's current home during a youth and women groups empowerment program. Mwangi Maina, TV 47, Nairobi.
Okapo wa Kibra ule yanakupigania sana.
And at least 93 suicide cases have been recorded in the central region in the last 6 months. The cases comprise of 84 men and 9 women, a number that has raised concerns in the region. Nanok Loren reports.
In the last 6 months, suicide cases in central Kenya have tallied to 93, among them 84 men, while 9 are women. The highest number of these cases were reported in Kiambu and Kirinyaga counties, with 25 suicide cases each. Nyeri County recorded 17 cases, while Murang'a recorded 16 and Nyandarua 9 cases.
Those are the reported ones. There may be others which take place which have not been reported to us, but the figures, the breakdown I've given you is for the reported cases which we have received. It is not good for one to take his or her life. This is a call not to the ones who have already died, but this is a call to the public that if one is having problems, he or she should discuss with the others, seek assistance. For the parents, if they see that the children are depressed, let them be taken for counseling.
Family and inheritance disputes, early pregnancies, among others, are said to be the root of most of these cases. A survey conducted last year indicated that the region was mourning at least 5 lives through suicide every day, causing alarm among residents and leaders in the region. Anok Lauren, TV 47.
Now, the Kenyan embassy in Ethiopia says it has successfully assisted journalist Yasin Juma, who was arrested in Ethiopia, and moved him into a government isolation center. Now, this is after he tested positive for COVID-19 at the Sostena police station, where he was detained until yesterday. Juma was arrested in July. Alongside 2 Ethiopian journalists, the 3 were accused of inciting ethnic violence and plotting to assassinate senior Ethiopian officials, crimes they vehemently denied. The Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembeya has given an early warning of a looming cholera outbreak in Naivasha following flooding that has been witnessed at Kehoto Estate. Now the estate borders Lake Naivasha, and already over 5,000 families have been displaced. Natembeya was on a tour of several government projects that are going on in the town. Our Naivasha-based reporter Willie Dennis Njiro has more details.
From the horizon, this is the horrible state of Kehoto Estate in Naivasha, Nakuru County. Hundreds of deserted homes that have since been submerged by the surging waters of the Lake Naivasha and displacing over 5,000 residents. The lake has been swelling at an alarming rate, submerging homes and businesses along its shore. And now, the Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembeya has called upon those who are still hanging on in the affected areas to flee before a cholera outbreak creeps in.
Others are still insisting on staying there, but the living conditions are not very good. They're not very conducive. We fear there could be an outbreak of disease of cholera because they're using very dirty water that is mixed with sewerage. As government, we want to very quickly mobilize our food and non-food items to ensure that there's some semblance of good life.
Natembeya, who had a busy day in the sub-county assessing government projects, has issued a warning to all contractors who failed to finish their projects in the stipulated time.
Any contractor has been given work to do in this region, in Rift Valley. They must complete that work or they risk going to jail. There are not alternatives there. The era of playing monkey business or doing monkey business with government projects, where you get a project knowing that you're not going to get money, and you won't complete the project. That era is completely gone.
The government has been keen on averting COVID-19 spread at the Mai Mahiu Inland Container Depot. The depot is now operating at 45% capacity.
Kenya Railways, KEBS, and also we have public on the ground, basically to take charge of management and containment of the spread of COVID-19. So before a truck comes in, basically they must have gotten the certificate of clearance that they're COVID-free. So through that, we've managed to ensure that we do not have the spread of COVID-19 within this facility or within the region.
The government has already made its intentions to have much cargo transported by rail to the western region and neighboring countries. Reporting for TV47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiro.
Many thanks for staying with us here on TV47 News Tonight. Let's take another short breather. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to News Tonight. Now, the government says it's setting up protocols to protect business against counterfeit products in the Kenyan market. These and other stories in the County Roundup.
Speaking after touring Keda's ceramic factory in Kajiado County, Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina has assured private industries in the county that the government is going to set protocols that will protect them against counterfeit products in the market.
You've all witnessed it, is that even as we have dealt with COVID, we have made sure that our businesses remained open.
Elsewhere, Nyandarua County residents led by the county speaker Ndego Wahome have expressed their anger over the poor state of roads in the area.
But now our contractors are supposed to do the drainage, the grading and the grafting within 3 months. It is not possible to happen. So we are doing roads today. Tomorrow they are washed away.
And finally, Narok Governor Samuel Ole Tunai has launched a micro-community project of 428 micro-community projects and distributed checks worth 200 million shillings to them under the National Agricultural Rural Inclusive and Growth Project.
We launched the implementation of 172 community micro-projects amounting to 73 million. Today, I am proud to announce and launch another set of 428 community micro projects totaling 162 million.
He added his administration will fully support food and nutrition security as well as income generation for farmers through Agricultural Sector Development Support Program ASDSP and Aquacultural Business Development Project supported by IFAD, which supports fish production across Narok County. Immaculate Oma, TV 47.
Thank you, Immaculate, for that report. Now, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya says the Kenya Tea Development Authority, KTDA, has been hijacked by cartels. Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Delegated Legislation, Munya said he has failed to implement the proposed laws due to opposition from KTDA bosses.
It's been 7 months after President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered for changes in the tea sector. Agriculture CS Peter Munya now says he has failed to achieve this due to opposition from cartels who have hijacked operations at KTDA. Munya was appearing before members of the Committee on Delegated Legislation shortly after KTDA officials requested the MPs halt the implementation of the new rules. Munya accusing KTDA of frustrating farmers.
Chairman, something I didn't ask, and I would want really you would ask them. They are an auction manager. They run an auction. Why are they against the tea being sold in the auction? If you have opened a shop, you run a shop, and you don't want many customers, there must be something wrong with you.
KTDA lawyers led by Ben Milimo said the CS implemented the new rules without consulting them. But Munya, backed by a section of lawmakers, says KTDA is currently run as a private entity.
Chair, the regulations that the Cabinet Minister published were so done pursuant to Section 40 of the Crops Act, which allows the Cabinet Secretary to come up with regulations to govern the crops. And Mr. Chair, Section 41, if I may read, states as follows, that the Cabinet Secretary may, in consultation with the authority and county governments. Mr. Chair, the key point I'm picking here is in consultation with the authority and county governments. In other words, Mr. Chair, prior to the making or formulation of any regulations, the Cabinet Secretary has a duty to consult. And that consultation must be one to the authority, and in this case, the authority is Agriculture and Food Authority, and secondly, Mr. Chair, the county government. You shall realize that in the publication, the Cabinet Secretary stated expressly that he only consulted the Agriculture and Food Authority, only.
Among the controversial rules the CS want implemented are reduction of the fees charged to farmers for KTDA activities from 2.5% to 1.5%, KTDA directors to be elected for 2-3-year term as opposed to, and all farmers to vote as opposed to smallholder farmers as it stands currently. Eli Logova, TV47.
Now, the British High Commissioner Jane Marriott has affirmed that Kenya and Britain will continue to enjoy strategic partnerships for mutual prosperity, sustainable development and security stability. She says President Uhuru Kenyatta and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson early this year signed a trade pact valued at 227 billion shillings when he took part in the UK Africa Investment Summit. Speaking during a handover ceremony of 50 home units constructed by Unity Homes at Tatu City in Ruiru, Kiambu County, the commissioner said the completion of the British-Kenyan housing project is an indication of the UK's partnership on affordable housing.
President Kenyatta and Prime Minister Boris Johnson signed the strategic partnership back in January, focusing on mutual prosperity, sustainable development, security, stability, climate and people to people. And projects like this tick so many of those boxes. It's sustainable, it's about mutual prosperity, and it's people to...
This is the first phase of the project, which is 400 units. And then across the road there'll be another about 700 units. So that gets to about 1,100 units in total. So it'll be a small town in itself, just the Unity West and the Unity. This housing development should be complete by the end of next year. It's now 60% sold. We're selling houses from between about $45,000 going up to about $60,000.
Like this, you reckon? No, we're just going to come to the edge here. Okay. So you.
Once again, thank you for staying with us. Let's take another short break. I'll be back with the sports news in just a moment. A very warm welcome back. Now let's take a look at the sports news. Kenyan Women Basketball League side Zitex Sparks continue to beef up their squad for a potential title challenge when the new season takes off. Sparks have already reopened, roped in 7 players, and head coach Maurice Obilo cannot just wait. Our sports reporter Julius Juma caught up with the tactician and filed the following report.
Development coach. I like coaching kids. And I like seeing people moving from one spot to another.
The biggest beneficiaries in the ongoing Kenya Basketball Federation transfer window, 7 players already roped in and the bulk of the team maintained, among them highly sought after skipper Lucy Mbithe. This is Zitex Sparks.
The players that we have signed are good players in terms of discipline and also young kids. But as much as they're young, there are people who have been playing basketball for quite some time. So they're young in age, but they have good experience in terms of the game.
Coach Maurice Obilo's Queens lost to University of Nairobi Dynamites in the quarterfinals last season to finish 5th. Obilo underlining the lack of depth and consistency as their biggest undoing.
For last year's season, we lacked a few things. One was a point guard. Then 2 was a post players. Then another one was maturity. Now, because of the majority of the kids that we had last year who are still immature. Most of them were just from high school. Yeah, so playing in the Premier League got a little bit tough for them.
Having pointed out the weakest link in their previous campaigns, the basketball tactician cannot wait for the new season, among other players, recruiting national team trio of Deborah Obunga, Christina Kenye, and Beryl Ahoko from Kenya Ports Authority.
That we are just getting prepared to play anyone. As like any other years, Zitec, we always prepare to play any team, whether we don't have good players. As long as we have players who are disciplined and ready to work, we always, and every team knows we always play to our level best.
Star forward Valerie Kemunto, shooting guards Kiombe Chantal and Agneta Kambua have also joined the Zitex Sparks brigade. Reporting for TV47 Sports, I'm Julius Juma.
Thank you for that report, Julius. Now, English Premier League champions Liverpool begin their title defense at home to newly Thanks for being with us. I'll be seeing you again tomorrow on Good Vibes. Have a blessed night. My name is Mobichege. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Anne Wairimo, and I'll also leave you with the weather forecast. Good night.